General Counsel, is there a quorum? Excellent. Good morning. I am Ann Valentine, designee for Lieutenant Governor Suzanne Crouch. I am calling to order the August 2023 meeting of the IHCDA Board of Directors. We are meeting pursuant to this board's policy for participation by members of the IHCDA Board of Directors in board meetings by simultaneous electronic communication. This means that only 3 members must be physically present at the site of the meeting, and the remaining members may call in. There will be an audio feed for the general public so that members of the public can listen to the meeting, and there will be a link to a video recording posted on IHCDA's website next month. At the time the motions are being made, each board member that makes a motion must state his or her first and last name for the record. The votes will then be tallied by roll call. I will now take a roll call of the board members to confirm members who are present and their location. Ann Valentine, designee for Lieutenant Governor Suzanne Crouch, present in the meeting room. Andy Seiwert, designee for State Public Finance Director Dan Hughey.
Present in the meeting room.
Jillian Battle, designee for Treasurer of State Daniel Elliott.
Present and in the meeting.
Board member Andy Place Sr.
Present remotely.
Thank you. Andy is remote. We have his audio. We unfortunately don't have his video, but we can still work with this. Thank you, Andy. Board member G. Michael Schopmeyer, not here. Board member J. June Midkiff, not here. And board member Tom McGowan, not here. Before we dive into the formal agenda for our meeting today, I wanted to welcome everyone here to this location today. It's our second traveling IHCDA board meeting. Glad to be here in Sheridan. And we have a couple of folks here to speak to us. First, we have Nick Surak, Senior Vice President, Woda Cooper Companies. Say a few words. Welcome, Nick.
Okay, thank you. Good morning. Glad you could all join us here today. I'm Nick Surak. I'm Senior Vice President of Development with the Woda Cooper Companies. We're a national developer of affordable housing, but we have a strong presence here in Indianapolis. We have a full staffed office here that I run in Broad Ripple. Just to give you a little background on this project, this is a 2017 9% tax credit award, and it started off with a local nonprofit called HAND, who was the initial applicant in 2016, and unfortunately they just missed the cut on funding. But this project had caught our attention, and we thought it was a very worthy site and an exciting opportunity to repurpose what was a former elementary school. So we worked with HAND and the property seller to resubmit in the following year. Unfortunately, we were awarded credits. The project got underway not long before COVID, and so we managed to finish this in the midst of the pandemic. And where we are right as far as the renovation, we or for volleyball or whatnot, they have this here to make use of. So I think this is like a really great victory for both affordable housing and adding something to the community as well. So I appreciate the opportunity to speak, and hopefully you'll have some time afterwards to walk around with us.
Great. Thank you, Nick. I think we also have Andrea Davis, the Executive Director of HAND. Thank you for joining us, Andrea.
Thank you very much for being here and for your support of affordable housing and community development throughout the state. HAND's 20 years old this year. We're a nonprofit based in Noblesville, and we've been developing affordable housing since about 2008 with the support of IHCDA. So thank you very much for that.
Thank you, Andrea. Thank you for the work you do. Next, we will move into our formal agenda. First up is the approval of the minutes from the July 27th, 2023 board meeting. Do we have any changes or additions?
Andy Seiwert, move their approval.
We have a motion to approve. Do we have a second?
I second
Andy
that.
Place second.
Jillian Battle seconds that. I will now take the roll. And we had Andy take place, so give us a second. All right, I will now take the roll call. Ann Valentine, aye. Andy Cywert,
Aye.
Jillian Battle. Aye. Andy Place.
Aye.
Motion carries. Thank you. Next up, please welcome Samantha Spurgel, who will present the Home Buyer Award recommendation, Brown County, Indiana Habitat for Humanity, Inc. Board Memo.
Thank you and good morning, board. Today I am here to present an award request for Brown County, Indiana Habitat for Humanity under the Home Buyer Funding Round. This is our last award under our 2022 policy. On June 30th, 2023, we received an application for the new construction of one unit in Nashville, Indiana from Brown County, Indiana Habitat for Humanity. The unit will have 4 bedrooms. I also want to note this is their second award with IHCDA. We were successfully able to close their first award a couple of weeks ago. I was very excited about that. With that, I'll pause and see if anyone has any questions.
Any questions from the board?
Wonderful, thank you. Staff respectfully request the board approve the following resolution. Resolved that the board approve awarding home funding in the form of a grant in an amount not to exceed $93,126 to Brown County, Indiana Habitat for Humanity Incorporated as recommended by staff.
We have a resolution before us. I'll entertain a motion.
Andy Place, motion for approval.
Second.
Give me your name.
Jillian Battle.
Andy Cywert, second.
Great. We have a motion and a second. I will now take the roll. Ann Valentine, aye. Andy Cywert.
Aye.
Jillian Battle.
Aye.
Andy Place.
Aye.
Motion carries.
Great.
Thank you, Samantha.
Thank you very much.
Next up, please welcome Peter Nelson, who will now present the Home Investment Partnerships American Rescue Plan Program Winding Way Townhomes Board Memo.
That was a lot, wasn't it?
It really was.
All right, thank you, board. I am very excited to be here this morning to recommend this. This is our first recommendation for rental construction through the Home ARP plan. To give a little background on this, the American Rescue Plan provided $5 billion across the nation to assist individuals or households who essentially are experiencing homelessness or at risk and other vulnerable populations. So this program allows for the providing of housing, tenant-based rental assistance, supportive services, and non-congregate shelter, with the goal overall of reducing homelessness and increasing housing stability across the country. So this is a program similar to our traditional home program with some caveats that the goal is serving that main population of those at risk for experiencing homelessness. Through the American Rescue Plan, IHCDA received over $54 million in the Home ARP funding. In April of 22, HUD approved our Home ARP allocation plan, in which we set aside almost $32 million specifically for the development of affordable rental housing. Per our allocation plan, all rental units created through the Home ARP rental construction program are going to be supportive housing for Home ARP qualifying populations, with a focus on persons experiencing homelessness. On July 11th of 2022, we issued an RFP for our rental construction program through the Home ARP funding. Responses were due in September, and through that we approved 10 respondents that would be eligible to apply for the Home ARP funding. Eligible teams could also apply for our National Housing Trust Fund, Development Fund, and the Home ARP nonprofit operating assistance, which, if you recall at our last board meeting, we awarded some CHODOs, some operating funds as well. The difference with this is these organizations only have to be nonprofits. They do not have to be certified as CHODO organizations, but it works in a much similar way that they can use that for their capacity. So specifically getting into this project, Winding Way Townhomes, it is a project by Radiant Communities Development Corporation. It is our first application. They submitted in June of this year. It is a total development cost of just over $9.5 million. They are requesting $4 million in Home ARP in our National Housing Trust Fund and a $750,000 Indiana Housing and Community Development Fund loan. As I said, Radiant is proposing this. It's a new construction of 30 townhome style units in Plainfield. The project consists of 2 individuals and a site located within walking a bus stop. So it's in a really good location. And this project concept was developed by Radiant during the 2022 Indiana Supportive Housing Institute. They are also requesting a $50,000 home ARP nonprofit operating assistance award. So I will say we are recommending all of the requested funds at this point, and I'm happy to pause and take any questions the board may have.
Questions?
I appreciate that they've got 3 bedrooms, but that's often not a market.
Yeah, that was very exciting to see, targeting families experiencing homelessness as well.
Okay, I think we'll take your resolution.
All right. Staff respectfully request the board approve the following resolution. Resolved that the board approve awarding $4 million of home ARP funds in the form of grant, $3 million of National Housing Trust Fund in the form of a grant, $750,000 of development fund in the form of a loan, and $50,000 in home ARP nonprofit operating assistance to Radiant Communities Development Corporation for Winding Way Townhomes as recommended by staff.
Board, we have a resolution before us. I'll entertain a motion.
Andy Place, approval.
Andy Cywert, so moved.
We have a motion and a second. I heard from Andy Place. I will now take roll. Ann Valentine, aye. Andy Cywert.
Aye.
Jillian Battle. Aye. Andy Place.
Aye.
Boy, what? Andy Place.
Aye.
Thank you. Motion carries.
Thank you.
Thank you, Peter. Next up, please welcome Matt Rayburn, who will now present the project-based voucher award for supportive housing board member memo for Winding Way Townhomes.
Excellent. Good morning, board. So before I start, I did want to acknowledge, I don't believe Peter did, Marshall Berry with Radiant CDC is here with us today. So I just wanted to thank her for joining the board meeting today and congratulate her team on submitting the first application under the Home ARP program. So we're excited to work with them. So Peter and I did a similar song and dance last month. You'll see this more over the coming months as we wrap up this Home ARP program. So Peter has set up and just received approval for the capital funds that will be used to build Winding Way. And then I'm coming up to follow up with the request for the project-based rental assistance contract on that same project. As Peter explained, the Home ARP person is experiencing homelessness. And because Radiant CDC is designating all 30 of their units at Winding Way for individuals and families who will be homeless at the time of admission, we know those individuals and families will likely be coming into the project with no income or very little income at the time of admission. Obviously, ongoing with supportive services, the goal will be to connect them with more sources of income, whether that's benefits they're eligible for, job connections, et cetera. But we know individuals coming straight out of homelessness generally have very little income, if any. So the project-based rental assistance contract really ensures then that because we know those individuals will not be able to pay much, if any, rent at the time they're admitted to the project, this contract pays rental assistance then directly to Radiant CDC as the owner of the project so that they can pay the operating costs of the building. So this would be using the project-based voucher platform to put a 20-year rental assistance contract on all 30 units so that they can continue to serve that target population throughout the duration of the project. And that would match the 20-year home affordability period that's tied to the project. So we'd be happy to answer any questions.
Board, do we have any questions?
Repeat the last thing you just said. I'm sorry. The 20-year.
Yeah, so so the reason we're doing a 20-year rental assistance contract is to match the home ARP funds that we are putting into the development. Will also come with a 20-year affordability period where there'll be 20 years of rent and income restrictions on the development. That will be, there'll be a restrictive covenant recorded against the project by IHCDA to ensure that. So this 20-year rental assistance contract will mirror that same period.
Okay, thank you.
All right. Seeing no other questions, we will hear your resolution.
All right, thank you. Staff respectfully request the board approve the following resolution. Resolved that the board approve an award of 30 project-based vouchers to Radiant Community Development Corporation for Winding Way Townhomes for a period of 20 years based on the annual fair market rents for Hendricks County as recommended by staff.
Board, we have a resolution before us. I'll entertain a motion.
I, Jillian Battle, move to recommend or to approve the staff's recommendation.
Andy
Do we have
Place, second.
Andy Cywert, second.
Andy Place, second.
Wonderful. We have a motion and a second. I will now take roll. Ann Valentine, aye. Andy Cywert,
Aye.
Jillian Battle, Andy Place Senior.
Aye.
Wonderful. The motion carries. Thank you, Matt. Please welcome Rachel Sample, who will present the HUD fiscal year 2023 Balance of State Continuum of Care Funding and Methodology Approval Board Memo.
Morning, board.
Morning.
I'm here today to talk about the fiscal year 2023 Continuum of Care Funding Allocation Methodology Approval. This year, the Indiana Balance of State, which is composed of 91 of the 92 counties, excluding Marion County, is looking forward to applying for COC funding. The competition began internally for this competitive funding opportunity in June, and HUD released those funds for application in July. We are currently reviewing those final applications and competitively scoring and ranking them for approval using the methodology that's in the exhibit that is attached in Exhibit B. This year, HUD has announced that 93% of our annual funding will be renewable and 7% of it will be competitively renewed. We have an additional about 2.1 million that we can apply for competitively, and additional 3.3 million, that we can apply for in domestic violence bonus funding. We began, like I said, taking those renewal applications in June and then released our competitive new project application last month. We're currently scoring those with our non-conflicted reviewers using the criteria that's listed in Exhibit B. Those agencies that are applying are eligible if they're a nonprofit organization, local government entity, or similarly as described in the memo. Agencies that are applying are asked to be evaluated on the following criteria: their experience with federal funds and utilization of those funds, adherence to housing first principles, efforts to reduce housing disparities, their data quality or capacity to collect performance-related data, and then their description of supportive services that will encourage households to remain stably housed through increasing and benefit and employment income. Like I said, we have our evaluation criteria listed here for approval. 20% of our application questions are based on performance-based criteria. 40% of those questions are objective criteria, and that is in alliance, in adherence, with the HUD requirements for COC NOFO competitive funding applications. The remaining questions are all narrative and scored by those non-conflicted reviewers, and we are hoping to submit our application by the deadline of September 28th. I'll now take any questions.
Board, do we have questions?
Yes.
Hi.
So Rachel, explain this to me a little bit. So HUD has the final approval. What we're doing is we have this application. Let's say we have 15. We submit, let's say, the best 7 and then we submit to HUD for them to determine if those 7 gets funding.
Yeah, so we have about, as it says here, we have about 19 million that will be automatically submitting for renewal. And then we do have new project applications we're also submitting. All of the new projects will be up for selection by HUD for sure. All of that money is very highly competitive for new projects. That 17 million in projects we're applying for is pretty much guaranteed to be renewed, but you are correct in saying that HUD does make that final determination of that remaining 7% if any of those would not be selected. We don't anticipate that happening given our past performance, but it's something that we always make clear to our applicants that it is a competitive process and it's ultimately HUD's decision on which applications are selected.
And then this particular scoring method, have we used this in the past? Okay, so nothing's really changed.
No, nothing's changed. We always review it with our Continuum of Care Board every year, and they also approve the application methodology per HUD requirements. And we use a process where we consult with both that board and subrecipients to make sure they understand the questions and can report that data to us.
Great. Okay, we'll take your resolution.
All right. Staff respectfully request that the board pass the following resolution for scoring and ranking on the State Continuum of Care Board of Directors for scoring and ranking the fiscal year 2023 COC applicants set forth in Exhibit A attached here to as recommended by staff.
Board, we have a resolution. I'll entertain a motion.
This is
Andy
Jillian
Place,
Battle.
motion for
I,
approval.
Approve our motion,
Andy Place, motion for approval.
and he does too. There we go.
We have a motion and a second. I will now take the roll. Ann Valentine, aye. Andy Cywert.
Aye.
Jillian Battle.
Aye.
Andy Place.
Aye.
Great. Motion carries. Next up,
Next up.
Rachel Sample will now present the Emergency Solutions Grant Fiscal Year 2023-2024 Allocations Board Memo.
Thank you so much. The Emergency Solutions Grant is a formula grant program administered by HUD, and we have the opportunity to allocate our funding here in the Indiana Balance of State for ESG funding for 2023 to 2024. We received $3,967,121 for this year, and we are using the consolidated plan to direct our allocation as described in the memo. We have, as you'll see in Table A, about $2.2 million that will be going out to shelter and outreach programs, and about $1,467,000 that will be going out to rapid rehousing and homeless prevention programs. RFPs were released earlier this summer, and projects were evaluated on the scoring criteria related to their past performance with funds, their services offered, and similar categories. We use an allocation method from that process forward, and our current applications, as you'll see in Exhibit A, that are listed here for approval, are in a total of $3,967,121, excluding administrative funds. The information that you'll see here presented in the memo does outline that while we have significant demand for funding, we're really only able to approve a portion of everyone's request because we just have more funding requested than we have available. But we do all our best to work with those folks who are selected for funding to make sure that they understand the allocation being less than what they expected. And if anyone does apply, as you'll see in the exhibit, who was not selected for funding, we reach out to them and offer them technical assistance so that they can apply in the future and hopefully be successful. I'll take any questions.
Any questions? Seeing none, we'll take your resolution.
Staff respectfully request that the board approve the following resolutions. Resolved that the board approve the awarding an allocation of the 2023-2024 program year emergency solution grant funds and the aggregate amount not to exceed $2,252.15 for the shelter program, $199,500 for the outreach program, and $1,467,834.78 for the rapid rehousing homeless prevention, and the organization set forth in Exhibit A as recommended by staff.
Board, we have a resolution. I'll entertain a motion.
Andy Cywert, so moved as outlined by staff.
Andy Place, second.
We have a motion and a second. I will take the roll. Ann Valentine, aye. Andy Cywert.
Aye.
Jillian Battle.
Aye.
Andy Place.
Aye.
Motion carries.
Lots
One more
of
from
lots of
Rachel.
numbers today.
Presenting the Housing Opportunities for Persons with AIDS 2023-2024 Program Year Funding Allocations Board Memo.
The Housing Opportunity for Persons with AIDS program, or HOPWA, is another formula grant administered by HUD and allows for low-income individuals and families experiencing homelessness to receive housing and services through HOPWA funding. It can provide long and short-term rental assistance, mortgage assistance, utility assistance. We have seen modernization of this funding allocation in the last couple of years, which has actually caused Indiana to receive an increase from HUD. This year, Indiana received $2,167,235 from HUD in the 2023-2024 program year. That's actually an increase of 10% in our program allocation. From this, we do keep 3% of that for admin dollars, and then we allocate the remaining funds across the balance of the state of Indiana in accordance with that map that you can see in the exhibits. The HOPWA map does look a little bit different than our other homeless services funding because the coverage areas of HOPWA program per HUD requirements looks a little bit different than our other funding opportunities. We do require our applicants meet certain criteria and then use a formula to allocate those dollars. One of those requirements is that they do have to be a coordination of care site with the Indiana Department of Health. And as you'll see in the table, we are presenting and recommending funding for agencies across the balance of state in those regions and service areas listed on Table A. I'm happy to take any questions.
Rachel, was there a change in the formula, or why did we get a 10% increase?
Yeah, so as HUD is doing HOPWA modernization, they're reevaluating the criteria in which they're determining whether or not states or local jurisdictions receive additional HOPWA funding. Whereas when the HIV/AIDS epidemic began, the population looked a little bit different than the population that we see now getting HIV/AIDS. So they're using more criteria related to population disparities in HIV/AIDS than what the original epidemic of AIDS and HIV looked like. That different criteria means that Indiana's score is a little bit higher in that formula, so we received an additional increase from HUD of 10%.
That doesn't mean that the number of participants or people with AIDS are increasing.
No, it just means that how HUD is evaluating where the epidemic is most in need is looking a little bit different because they're using a slightly different set of criteria to evaluate.
Thank you. Great question. Okay, we will hear your resolution.
Thank you. Staff respectfully requests that the board approve the following resolution. Resolve that the board approve awarding an aggregate amount of HOPWA funds in an amount not to exceed $2,095,427.95 to the applicant set forth in Table A for the 2023-2024 program year as recommended by staff.
We have a resolution. I'll entertain a motion.
I, Jillian Battle, motion, move for approval.
Andy Seibert,
Andy
second.
Place, second.
We have a motion and a second. I will take the roll. Ann Valentine, aye. Andy Seibert?
Aye.
Jillian Battle?
Aye.
Aye.
Andy Place?
Aye.
Wonderful. Motion carries. Thank you, Rachel. And now, Executive Director Jacob Sipe will provide an executive update.
Okay, thank you. First, I do want to take a step back and acknowledge the back in our real estate team for the work that they had to put into creating a plan that had to be approved by HUD, that we went through a public process to get input on how to use those home ARPA. The award today is probably one of the first in the country to get those ARPA dollars out for this type of development, and then to link it to services, and then to have that housing security of that rental assistance. There's still a lot of communities in a lot of states around that are still struggling with trying to even get their plans approved to this day. And here we are making awards. Hopefully we can start construction in Plainfield here within the next, I don't know, hopefully by the end of the year. So, I mean, that's just a testament to, thanks to the board for being supportive of the development and understanding the plan and what goes into all this. But it really is, I just want to acknowledge our not-for-profits.
Thank you. I assume because your team always does outstanding work that they will continue to do so. So
Yeah.
It's nice to have you acknowledge that.
It looks easy.
Really, from this seat, it does.
It looks really easy. But trust me, there was a lot of hard work that went into it.
And the speed in which we did it was also impressive. Like I said, there's still a lot of states that are even still struggling to try to get their plans approved. I mean, our plans have been approved for a while. Now we're actually implementing. So the implementation is really the important part to all of this. So.
Bring something up, if I could ask a question to what you brought up. With Plainfield, when do we think we're going to start? And then is there a completion date in mind for this project?
Yeah, I don't know. Do we
Sorry,
know
guys,
when
it's
the,
late.
do you want to mention this? When do you plan to break ground? And maybe we could get an invite to the groundbreaking?
Yeah, so
Thank you very much. I'm Marshall Berry. I'm Executive Director of Radiant CDC, and I am so thankful. Exactly what Jake said. I know there was a lot of work put into that, and they were there partnering with us all the way. So thank you, Matt, Peter, appreciate it. So yeah, so we're excited. We are, right now we are planning on breaking ground by the end of the year with our partners. So we're actually partnering also with Volunteers of America on their project as well. So we'll be right next door to them. So with hopefully we will be opening fourth quarter of next year or earlier.
thank you for that.
Thank you.
The other thing I want to mention is the magazine. We do a quarterly magazine, and the summer issue is here. When you open this up and you look at it, what you're going to find are organizations and IHCDA and the state of Indiana who put forth and recognize the importance of volunteerism. And so in here is just a lot of great stories and examples about how volunteerism can support housing, but also our communities. And so we're really glad that we're able to use the magazine as a platform to lift up the work that's being done across our state for those who volunteer their time, and also for organizations that help pull together volunteers to do some amazing work. So the magazine on the cover is Mark Lindenlaub from Thrive Alliance, which is based in Columbus. And Mark has been a longtime supporter and partner with IHCDA on housing. And so just really glad that we were able to lift this up and share this information with the magazine. So great. The last thing, the other thing here I want to mention is the Indiana Housing Dashboard. If you go to indianahousingdashboard.com, there's a wealth of information related to housing data. We centralize a lot of the housing data across our state. And it's also broken down by county. Over the last year, we've been working to make major enhancements to the Dash 2.0 versions. And so what I'd like to do is at our September board meeting, have Stephen Enns come and present maybe 10 minutes just to walk you through the dashboard and see the new features. It's really, really impressive. There's more than just data behind it. It actually will walk you through how to use the data and actually how to develop for communities like Sheridan to develop those priorities and to implement strategies to develop housing, whether it be affordable housing, market rate housing, workforce housing, elderly housing, whatever it might be that is an importance for that community. The dashboard will be a great resource and a tool for communities to really think strategically about their housing needs and how to actually address those needs. So really excited to share with the board what the 2.0 dashboard is going to look like and the new features that we're going to have for communities. And all of that is for CDAs taking care of all of this. And so this really is a great tool. And so next month, I'd like to be able to have Stephen come in and kind of walk you through it. So.
That'd be great, and we can give more than 10.
Okay, we'll do that. Yes, yeah. We have been getting a lot of requests from a lot of organizations and conferences across the state to start to share that. And I know we kind of did a little introduction Tuesday at the AIM conference down in French Lick. And so that was kind of the first little peek behind the curtain in terms of what this dashboard is going to look like. So with that, I also just want to mention and thank Andrea Davis and Nick Surek for hosting us here. At Black Hawk Commons. I know it's we have this great facility here, but it is also here as well. There's 44 one-bedroom, there's 18 two-bedroom, and there's 9 three-bedroom units here. And as Nick was mentioning, this was all placed in service in December of 2019. Up into small groups. So if the board's interested and you'd like to go take a walk through and see what some of the units look like and the common spaces and how this is all connected, they're happy to do that for us. So I really appreciate them hosting us and also having some coffee and some local bakery here. That food is amazing in terms of the Cinnabons. So
It looks like lunch to me.
I think, yes.
It'll be lunch
So I'm
right
still on my sugar high from that. So speaking of the next board meeting, that is on September 28th at 10 a.m. Eastern. We will be back at IHCDA's office. And then leading up to that, in October's meeting, we will be down in Corridon. We have another school that has been repurposed into housing and also has a gym similar to this as well. So we're going to be there in October. So with that, that's my update for this month.
Great. Thank you. Is there any new business to come before the board?
Yeah, Jake, I saw recently the Bloomington Council adopted an ordinance banning tents in the park by homeless people. Was there any conversation with you prior to that in the run-up to that being passed, or do you anticipate?
No, we didn't have any conversations with them related to that in terms of their local ordinances. At least I'm not aware of. So.
Okay. Seeing no new business, I will entertain a motion to adjourn. Jillian makes the motion to adjourn. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
We are adjourned at 10:44.